Hello and welcome to the Bourbon Bear, and as always to start the season I have my co-host Nick Fred. How are we feeling today, Fred?
Feeling good, Lukey.
Love to hear that. It's 2024 is upon us.
Yeah.
Bears football is back. How are we feeling right off the gate still? A lot of moves in the offseason, a lot of things happening with the Bears, a lot of faith by the city of Chicago. So just kicking it off right there, the vibes you're getting from the city. How are you feeling about this year?
I mean, well, first of all, let's cheers.
Cheers to that.
To a new year of the Bourbon Bear. The Kool-Aid is being drank. It's safe to say.
Agreed.
You see their performance last year where they had 7 wins. A lot of games that they were in it, and the areas of the roster that they have improved drastically. I think it's only onwards and upwards from here, and expectations should be high because of the players and the caliber of players that they have.
So speaking of last year with the 7 and 10, I have to call out my sins because I was a field truther all year, and even watching the preseason games of him this year, the guy just lacked vision.
Yeah,
you're seeing highlights of preseason games. He's overthrowing, missing wide open guys, scrambling and missing people downfield. Caleb has just that aspect of the game that I think Fields was truly missing. Obviously, we've seen Caleb scramble throughout the preseason. We've seen him make deep throws. A lot of good things I'm liking what I see so far. Again, rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
I think his expectations are very high. I think in the Hard Knocks episode he said, he's never afraid, though.
Yeah.
Love that mentality, especially because Chicago is a city where you get critiqued very, very easily.
Oh, yeah.
And you need that backbone. Sorry, go ahead. But you need that for quarterback.
And I know this is not a Tyson Bagent's podcast. I'm fully aware of that. But I think, the perfect example is a guy like Justin Fields has all the talent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He has the arm, he has the legs, he's built like a freaking bricks truck. But if you don't have the brains and you can't think fast, well, then you're in big trouble. Where a guy like Tyson Bagent who played D1 AA, no one ever heard of the guy, but he's super smart and can read a defense and hit the throws that he needs to hit. It doesn't matter where you play or where you come from. It's who's going to work the hardest and who's going to be there at the end.
So you're taking this an interesting angle. I was going to save Bagent for later, but already talking about him, obviously great preseason performance. Looks like he's improved significantly since last year. Great to see him get some games in last year, too. And the one thing that people are kind of talking a little bit about now is the fact that maybe the Bears trade him for a pretty good pick, maybe a third rounder or even maybe a second rounder. I kind of like having the luxury of having a great backup.
Yes.
And I know Caleb will have some growing pains, and obviously you pray there's never an injury, but having that in your roster, especially for this year when you actually have Bagent for another year, so we can talk about that later. But I agree with you. Yeah. I think Bagent showed a lot of great things and strides he's making, but turning the tables onto the real guy of the hour 100%. Who's going to be starting week 1, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Bears critiqued to shit for never having a 4,000-yard passer. Putting you on the spot, is he the guy? Year 1.
He absolutely is the guy. Yes, I think he's going to put up crazy good numbers this year and just going to continue to shut all of the naysayers up. He has all the potential in the world. And potential is a scary word. I mean, we've seen it as Bears fans all throughout our lives, but a guy like Caleb who is just a raw, authentic quarterback that we've never seen. He's not a Mitch Trubisky. He's not a Justin Fields. He is a guy who has been the number 1 pick for the last 3 years, and he's going to live up to the potential and the hype.
So you think, though, 4,000 yards. As a rookie, not easy. C.J. Stroud, I believe, did it last year. You have the weapons to do it. I'm not saying anything against that, but it really goes into the fact that, hey, you still have growing pains. No matter how talented and good you are, NFL's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
I am with you that I think he's going to be the first one to eclipse it. If it doesn't happen in year 1 and we get close, I'm not going to be, running for the hills saying, 100%. Oh my God, we're done. But I think there is potential that he can do it this year, and I'd be very happy with that. But that goes into kind of what the offseason as a whole was, the fact that you've got 2 significant additions. You've got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Also want to give a shout out to Gerald Everett because I think he is actually a really good second tight end to have. I think he'll be. I don't think he's going to set the world on fire. I'm not talking about 500 yards, but even a pinch situation, good guy to have.
He is an upgrade over Robert Tonyan, who selfless plug Robert Tonyan is a Fred cousin. That's why he's so good. But he is definitely an upgrade over what Tonyan was, and that's only just going to have more weapons and threats out there. That's going to help Caleb and also Komet, and just the rest of the weapons get open where your offense now just opens up because you can play 2 tight end and 3 receiver sets.
Well, and I think I didn't want to mention Kmet because I want to mention him with DJ Moore because you got 2 locker room leaders right there, and I think both are going to be, number 1, great for helping Caleb, and number 2, keeping that team and that offense as a whole together. Yeah. It really comes down to a significant portion, though, of the offseason with that trade for Keenan Allen, the 4th rounder. I think Poles did a great job there. Very happy. But the one thing I'm nervous about is the offensive line.
Yeah.
And I know, sorry, I'll let you go here, but the one thing I want to say, I think Tevin Jenkins does deserve an extension.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people like, oh, he's injury prone. I think he's one of the better guards in the league.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to go on a rant about something we've already talked about, so I'll let you take the floor there. But before we get into player by player, I think this offensive line has potential to be a top 10 offensive line. Your thoughts?
Yeah. No, listen, I completely agree. I think as long as these guys can continue to stay healthy, because that's a key word, where a guy like Tevin Jenkins, he always misses time because he keeps getting hurt. And that's not his, he's not intentionally getting hurt, right? Mm-hmm. But, that guy is one of the best guards in the NFL. He's one of the meanest guards, too, which is a guy that you love to have on your team. You hate to play against him.
Yep.
I think offensive line, the game is won at the trenches. And if you have a good offensive line, you can run the ball, well, then think how much better Caleb's life is going to be.
Yep.
Time after time. And so, I think where they're at right now is a really good spot. They need some of these guys to get healthy, and like Nate Davis, what the hell are you going to get out of him? Like, he's the big question mark, and he's probably one of the biggest questionable moves that Poles has made to date, not accounting for Velus Jones because that's a draft. But he kind of paid money for a guy like Nate Davis, and Nate Davis has he's a lazy boy.
So I don't even know what to say about him yet. I want to see him with a full season healthy. I know last year he had the off season of like losing a family member. That's tough. I totally get it.
Yeah.
If we see a full season of him healthy and he's not good, there are a lot of cop-outs to get out of that contract next year, which is fine. What was interesting, though, that happened on the 53-man roster that got trimmed down yesterday, Jairi Carter did not make the team. He did play some games for the Bears last year. Bill Murray, though, great name, did make the roster.
Yeah.
So he's looking like the depth behind him. So I know we also have a change at center. We've got a lot of things working on the line, but realistically, it's going to come down to 2 people in my mind, which are Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones.
Yeah.
You need those tackles to be elite. I think they've both shown you they can be elite. Darnell in Season 2, I think, is going to be a lot better than Season 1. He did have some errors that were pretty bad. But Braxton has been a reliable, great pick, number 1, but reliable left tackle, and that means the world to a rookie quarterback. How do you think those 2 are going to handle, especially going against teams that have elite pass rushers?
Yeah, listen, I think the fact that Braxton's going on year 3 right now and Darnell's going on year 2 is the experience and the wisdom that they can provide back to Caleb that they were able to garner in those years where maybe the Bears weren't where we wanted them to be, is going to be so invaluable to the rest of the team and the rest of the offensive line where, usually teams get so reliant on, you look at the Eagles where Jason Kelce he was one who was calling out all the blitzes. He was doing everything for them because he was such a savvy veteran. Where now, I'm talking about the Bears, where you have a different center coming in here year after year. So having those 2 guys be your stable rocks, then you also have Tevin Jenkins, who's also a stable rock, where you not only have continuity within the offensive line, but you have guys that that you can lean on and can produce for you. And like you said before with Kmet and the other dude was just like having the locker room camaraderie where you have these guys staying around for a while is super important.
Well, speaking of Kmet and DJ, that's kind of why I wanted Jenkins to get an extension, but that's something they said they're not even going to discuss till after the bye week. But DJ Moore extended, Cole Kmet extended. Mm-hmm. So looking good, having those core leaders in the team. They've been there a while. Love to see that. Well, I guess DJ's only been there for a year, but someone they want there for a while, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But then it turns the question to Rome Odunze, though, and the wide receiver room itself. So Rome obviously coming in at the number 9 pick. A lot of high hopes. Right now, the Vegas over-under on yardage for Rome. Take a wild guess.
400.
675 yards.
Wow.
I think he can hit it. I think he's that talented.
Yeah. Dude, if Williams is dishing out 4,000 yards, like
it's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere. People are going to be either double teaming DJ or double teaming Keenan, and that's going to create so much opportunity for Rome to step up and be one of the key guys on this team.
So the one thing I'll say about Keenan, he's primarily the slot, and I think he's going to be a great safety valve option for Rome. I know he's 32, I believe. I could be wrong there, but I think that's a great, number one, to teach Rome Odunze, because he's been playing every position throughout his career. Yeah. Fantastic wide receiver. Even if he's only here for a year, I think the lessons he's going to teach Rome, fantastic.
You can't put a value on that stuff, where it's like him being able to pass down what he's learned from all the quarterbacks that he played with and just all the players that he's come through and being one of the best in the game for as long as he's been there. Like, that's invaluable stuff.
Well, that's why I think Poles made a great decision there, because, hey, you're paying a hefty price tag for an old receiver, a veteran, but if he can just teach your next generation, you can get some productivity. I don't think we'll re-sign him personally next year, unless maybe he takes a Chicago discount. We'll see. But that's invaluable for Rome. Yes. So I think that yardage, while I think it's incredibly high, it's still doable. That's why I've got $100 on it. So I am ready. I am ready to see him be that guy, and I am so excited. But that kind of turns the question to the defense, though. So Chicago, I think it was week 11 through 17 last year, was a top 5 defense. Obviously, Adam Montez Sweat was fantastic. He led the sack leader for the Bears and the Commanders. Unbelievable guy to have in your team. But Austin Booker comes into this team. The Bears trade a 4th round to get a 5th round pick this year. I have so many expectations for this guy. He looked fantastic during the preseason. I'm hoping he is going to be that complement to Sweat in the end. Yeah. Obviously, we have Walker. We've got some veterans we just traded for from Seattle. I think his name
Taylor.
Darnell Taylor. Yeah. I think, number one, it's going to be good learning for him. But if he comes in year 2 can be your starter, that's a huge win. Yeah. And what do you think after seeing him throughout the preseason?
I mean, dude, listen, that Austin Booker is going to be an absolute stud. That guy, just watching him, I know he's going against like 2nd and 3rd stringers, but you can just see the potential in year 1 where he doesn't have any of the NFL muscle on him yet. And that's just he has stuff that you can't teach. And I think it's going to just continue to progress over time. And, I mean, this guy, he left school early, too. Everyone was telling him to stay, and if he stayed, he would have been a 1st rounder.
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah. So I think, listen, everything seems to be looking well. And the guy they traded for from the Seahawks, as long as you can get like 6 sacks from the guy, 5 sacks, like that's all you're asking for.
So I was talking with Jim O'Malley about this, but literally he's just solely a pass rusher. So he comes in a 3rd down, 3rd and long situational guy. And that was the most frustrating part of the Bears last year, I think, was the fact that you have 3rd and 12, you'd have, 3rd and 19, they convert it. Yeah. And I love having that as an option, but I think Booker will become that, every down kind of guy. And, obviously they'll sub him out when they need a specific pass rush, but I think he's going to be one of Poles' best signings. Yes. And I love it to death. But the one thing I'm curious about, though, is how that rotation is going to work. Because you still have Walker, who was better when Sweat came here. Yeah. But is this going to be like a kind of a defensive end by committee at that side, or what are you thinking?
Well, I think that's the other key thing is, if Sweat gets hurt, they're kind of, are they fucked? And, same thing in the interior defensive line where, if Dexter gets hurt, they need more depth right now. And they're going to make more moves as the season gets closer and closer. And we saw with the trade for Taylor for the defensive end, and they also traded for another guy from the Browns. And, they're going to keep having to make these moves because they lack some of these depth pieces.
Well, I mean, you're speaking devil's advocate here because literally, if we lose Sweat, I think this defense with Sweat can be a top 10 defense.
Yeah, it should be.
If we lose him, then I think we're reverting back to our... Because, again, there weren't significant additions on the defense, but you have the fact that, I don't know if Pickens is going to be any better. He was kind of a non-factor.
He got pushed around big time last year.
But Dexter, I think, will be better, right? Or no?
I agree. I mean, Dexter, you can't teach his size. That guy's 6'6". Yep. I mean, in my mind, he gives me flashes of DeForest Buckner because DeForest Buckner is also a massive human being. And so I think Dexter, expectations for him this year, too, is he's taking that next step. And he is going to be the engine, the motor that makes this defense go. And, that's just going to open up so many more opportunities for guys opposite Sweat and just everyone else along that defensive line.
And that's what it has to be. It has to be the guys that Sweat's going to, getting all that, double teams, whatever it's going to be. They need to. And Andrew Billings, I think, is a great run stopper. He's good on the line. We're running that 4-3, so it's perfect. But there needs to be someone else to step up. So I don't know if it'll be Booker, Walker, or Darnell, but we'll figure it out. if they can at least generate a pass rush, this secondary is going to be one of the best secondaries I think the Bears have seen in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think what we'll see this year a lot, because their secondary is so good, is, and you started to see it towards the back half of last year, is Eberflus calling the defense. He's going to start blitzing those linebackers nonstop. So I think you're going to see 5 guys rushing now, and it's just going to create so many more opportunities for all of these guys across the defensive line.
So that's interesting you say that, because the Bears were the 31st teams in sacks last year.
Yeah.
Where would you rank them, you think, coming into this year? With Sweat, obviously, now that's going to change the game. Where do you think they'll wind up? With, again, elite secondary, questions on the defensive line, who's going to be their edge, but what do you think?
I mean, I think they're still hovering in the 20-ish range, but maybe the lower 20-ish range. Because, I mean, listen, having Sweat for a full year is going to be super impactful, but you still need another player on that defensive line that you can rely upon.
But you don't think you can be Booker this year? That's what you're going for?
No, I think this year, Booker's going to continue to show flashes, but that guy just needs more time and more time to really get accustomed to the NFL.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because you mentioned his size at one point, I think a couple minutes ago. A lot of people have been saying that he looks small for an edge rusher. So there is 2 types of edge rushers. So you have the bull rush and you have the technique. And I think he's got the technique going really well for him.
Yeah.
But that's also my, not concern, but actual praise for Sweat, because he's making Darnell Wright work right now.
Yeah.
You're going against one of the best edge rushers in the NFL as a second-year NFL player. I think that's going to make him significantly better in the long run, because all the training camp rumors have said he is struggling against Sweat.
Yeah.
Which he should be.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. What do you think? I think he gave up 8.5 sacks last year. I think that number goes down to 5 to 4.
Yeah, I agree, and I think just building off of that one example, what a benefit it is for this offense to be able to go up against that defense every single day. And you heard it in Hard Knocks from Caleb, where he said that practice is harder than the games. And that's because their defense is so stout, and their DBs are so good that Caleb is having to fit balls into very tight windows, where when it comes to the game time, other teams don't have the Kyler, Tyreek, and Jalen Johnson trio. And
Agreed. I mean, that's one of the best I've ever known.
And then not even including the safeties of Byard and Brisker, who just bring off the back half of that defense. I think it's we have no reason to not be optimistic based on what we saw towards the back half of the season once Sweat came over and once Eberflus took over the play calling.
It's true. So you actually just led me to my next point.
Yeah.
I know you love Kevin Byard.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm absolutely in love with the guy, but I think, he is someone who is a savvy veteran and has proven that he can be one of the better safeties in the NFL. And last year, he was on the Eagles, who their defense absolutely stunk.
Yep.
Every year before that, on the Titans, he was a stable force, and you got him for a very cheap deal.
Well, one thing I'll say is having week 1 against the Titans, we'll get into that. Actually, that's our next point.
Yeah.
But number 2, though, and I'll stand by this, though, I think Geno Stone would have been a great signing. And I understand the veteran in the locker room. I mean, especially the Bears being a younger team, as they are. I mean, Keenan Allen might be the oldest Bear on the team. I'm trying to think now.
Well, besides Scales.
Oh, yeah.
But
actual non-special team,
yeah.
I think he might be the oldest.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I don't know. I have to look that up, actually.
You're probably right.
It's got to be around there.
Yeah.
But I just think you still go young in that position, mainly because you got Brisker back there, who is a headhunter.
Yeah.
And you really just need that old Eddie Jackson, you know, back when he was just a ball hawk, didn't really go for the tackles, just got the picks. Love that era, but it's what it is. But going on to week 1, though, the Titans. The Titans lost Derrick Henry. They lost Byard, and then they went to the Eagles, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're a very good team.
No. I mean, their starting quarterback is Will Levis, and I don't, could you name who their running backs are?
Spears and the guy from the Cowboys, Pollard.
Yeah, they paid
Pollard.
I
can't.
But they paid Pollard a shitload of money, didn't they?
I don't know what his contract was, but again, that's two just
Well,
they're running backs.
But I think they paid him more than the Bears paid Swift. And who would, unbiased opinion, would you rather have Pollard or would you rather have Swift? I'd rather have Swift. I mean, he has.
We haven't even talked about Swift yet, but yeah, no, I'm with you.
But anyways, week 1, since that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
No, I think that the Bears should absolutely roll. I said this last year when they were about to play the Packers, and it was the exact opposite. But that's where I think we are really witnessing a complete transformation about the Chicago Bears that we all know. Where usually we get our hopes up, we all drink the Kool-Aid, and then once the season kicks off, it's just depression. And
well, the one thing I want to say about that though is the fact that, like, remember in 2018 we traded for Khalil Mack right before the season. And that's when everyone started being like, all right, here's our perk. Like, 2017 was not good. But then we pulled off one of the best seasons as Bears fans we've seen in our millennial lives. Let's be real. Like, my God, that was the most fun I ever had. Double doink. Don't want to talk about it. But I think we're bringing that energy back to the Bears, which was been lackluster for so long. So when you look at the fact that Flues and Poles are doing what they're doing, I think they're building it the right way.
Yes.
Because, like, we had... Granted, you had different expectations for the Bears record when everything went that way. But... I think they are building this team right.
Yeah.
It's going to be young. It's going to be fast. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think right now the Vegas over-under for the Bears is 8.5, or maybe not. No, 8.5. 8.5 right now.
Because they won 7 games last year.
And I think you look at the Titans game as we're going to know a lot more than we should know after that game. And again, we'll do predictions in a little bit, but I think that's a game you have to win.
Yeah.
Mainly because you're not playing the NFC North till week 11.
Yeah.
And that is the most wild schedule setup I've ever heard of in my life. But these first couple of games, I guess till week 10, you need to win at least minimum 6.
Yeah.
I would say they win 7, but how do you think this season looks as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, has anyone ever had a schedule like the Bears before where they don't have a divisional game?
That's wild. That's
11?
Absolutely insane.
And then they have a stretch where they have a 5-week stretch where they're playing 4 divisional opponents and then the 49ers. Like, that right there could very well determine your season. So everything that you said where it's like this early portion, you need to stack up as many wins as possible because, again, like the stuff that you can't teach is the experience that Caleb and the rest of the team are going to get in these, I don't want to say like lower tier opponents, but like the Titans are not the same as the Packers or the Lions. Like they are a bottom tier NFL team, and so you cannot let those games slip through your fingertips and then later on in the season wishing that you would have won that game.
I agree 100,000%. But that's where it gets interesting with especially the Vikings, though. So obviously their first round pick out for the year, brutal, and I apologize if Vikings say that sucks. Like you want to win as Bears fans, but you also don't want people to get hurt. That sucks. I think you have to win both those games now.
You do.
That's a no-brainer.
And nothing against like Sam Darnold. He's a journeyman NFL quarterback, and he's
afraid of ghosts. Always seeing ghosts out there.
He's learned a lot from all the different places that he's been able to go, but you absolutely need to sweep them this year. Like you can't allow.
So that's where it becomes interesting, though. So I guess we're aligned there with the Vikings, but Green Bay and Detroit, and Montez Sweat has said we will not be losing to Detroit. Green Bay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not Detroit. We will not be losing to Green Bay. Green Bay's still a good team. They almost beat the 49ers in that game. Sorry, was that the championship or no? No, it wasn't. It was the game before because they played the Lions in the NFC Championship, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you are correct.
Yeah. They almost beat the 49ers, and that team had no expectations.
Yeah.
So is that almost the replica of what the Bears are going to be this year, where maybe we can make a deep run because teams just don't fear us? Or obviously we're Chicago guys, so we're going to hype them up no matter what. But
I mean, I think a lot of it also is schedule based. Right? Last year the Lions were so good; they played a last place schedule.
Yeah,
and so the expectations for the Lions.
Wait. Turn back. Lions were so good they played the last place schedule. No.
Last year the Lions played a last place schedule.
Did they?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Maybe it wasn't last place, but they played a lower tier.
No, it had to be the Bears because the Bears had the number 1 overall pick, so we had the lowest tier.
Well, the Bears had the number 1 pick because of Carolina.
No, you're saying this year or last year?
I'm saying last year.
Yeah, last year we had the worst record, so we had the easiest schedule because we traded that pick, and then that's how we got DJ Moore.
Anyways, okay. the Lions finished maybe then 3rd in the division, but they benefited by that this last year because they played those lesser opponents. And I honestly think like this year, I'm not saying that they're going to be bad. I just think it's not going to be what they had last year.
So I'm with you. I think there's going to be some regression because they were that good, I guess, from playing weaker opponents. But I just think the Bears, I guess, in the NFC North, what do you think they can go? Because right now I would say we go 4-2. And I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're assessing, that gets me to my record prediction that the floor for us is going to be 10-7.
Yeah.
So win at least a 6 in the first stretch, then we get to the NFC North, win 4 of those, 10 wins.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to go?
I mean, I'm completely with you. I think 4-2 or 3-3 in the division is completely doable.
Yeah.
Again, you're playing the Packers and the Lions 4 times, and those teams they're good, and they're much better because you're playing them 2 times. So 2
6
plus 2
times.
is 4. No, you play them 4 times total. Home and away is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking just the Packers and the Lions.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying between the NFC North, I think 4-2 or 3-3 is in the realm of possibility, and then my overall record prediction is either 10-7 or 11-6.
That's I think we're on the same
page. I
page.
think either one of those is completely in reach for the type of talent that they have on this roster right now.
So going through the schedule, though, there's always one game that you can't predict. And I think my prediction is going to be week 2, Bears versus Texans, Sunday Night Football, C.J. Stroud versus Caleb Williams. That game, I think, is going to be awesome, number one, but the Texans are really good. What do you think happens in that game? Because that's the one I think I pegged as a loss, and I'll go through a full record prediction in another video, but that one is the most unique one to me because I feel like the Bears this year are the Texans last year.
Yeah.
Sneak into the playoffs, do some good things, and go from there. But C.J. Stroud has demonstrated that he's
a veteran.
Very good.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's only been in the league for 1 year.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Wild.
No, I think that matchup is going to be not only must-watch TV for obviously Chicagoans, but national-wise because you're seeing the quarterback who everyone loved last year in C.J. Stroud, and who the guy everyone's presuming is the next C.J. Stroud. I think that's a tough matchup, though.
Agreed.
That's a very tough matchup, and I would be happy with obviously the Bears keeping it close and coming away with the win. Who knows what will happen, but I think that's
no one knows football.
Yeah,
that's the
right,
thing.
That's
yeah.
right. But the Texans, they spent a ton of dough this year. They got who was the DN that they signed? Danielle Hunter, right?
They got Hunter and they got Diggs.
Yeah,
those 2 big names.
But now your D line is Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter.
Yeah,
and that's just you have that solidified, and then their offensive weapons that they have is
oh my god, the receiving core is
stacked
as well. Yeah. It's insane.
So. Listen, I'm not going to say the Bears are going to lose that game. I think it's just going to be a more challenging opponent than what we're going to, for a week 2, than what you are accustomed to seeing.
I agree with that. And I think that's going to be one of the most fun games of the year. There's a lot of good games on the schedule, but ultimately it comes down to, though, you need to win the games you have to win. And I think if they do that, they'll get that 10-7 record, sneak in the playoffs. I think, realistically, the NFC North might have 3 teams in there.
Yeah.
I think Lions, Green Bay, and Bears all make it. What other division scares you, though?
Within the NFC?
Within the NFC. Because that's what really comes down to making that playoff. I know having 7 seeds now is a lot better than 6, but what else are you afraid of? The NFC East is kind of my biggest fear, but I want you to take the floor there.
Yeah, listen, the NFC East, I just feel like everyone always talks about the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Commanders, and I feel like those teams never live up to the expectation, besides the 1 year where the Eagles made the Super Bowl, and they won it with Hurts. I think
they didn't win it with Hurts.
Oh, they didn't. All right, whatever.
Nick Foles.
Mm-hmm. But I would say the NFC West. I think that those teams out there where I'm not saying that the Cardinals are going to be good, but with Kyler Murray coming back for a full year, you don't know what you're really going to get with him. So wild card big time just with him alone, but then you have the 49ers and you have the Rams with McVay. As long as they have McVay, you're always going to be skeptical because that guy's an absolute genius.
And that division, I'm with you, that's also a scary one. Because, Bears 49ers, we beat them in that 2018 season, if you remember, when we were playing against Robbie Gould. God. Barely beat them, but that team has improved significantly. Brandon Ayuk still holding out, but by the time we play them, I'm assuming that's going to be figured out. That's going to be a game I don't think the Bears can win. Knock on wood, they do, but we'll see as the time goes on.
One thing I'll say about the because we talked about that Texans game, right?
Yeah.
It's a great thing that game's early in the season because then you don't have as much tendencies that coaches are able to do within a scouting report. So I think that's only going to benefit the Bears. Where When you talk about advanced scouting, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert in that space, but it's only going to help them. It's going to help Caleb.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
really open up the offense and keep things fresh. That you're putting it on tape at that point, but I think that game, it will be closer than we expect.
So final question for the episode, though. I need 2 answers. Number 1, Caleb Williams seems like we're on a line that is going to be 4,000 yards. We're good there. Defensive ranking in the NFL, go.
Are we talking about points per game, or are we talking about yards per game?
We're talking overall efficiency.
Overall efficiency. I mean, there's no reason they should not be a top 10.
Give me a specific number, though.
Give me a specific number. I will say 4.
Wow!
Yeah.
Let's go, buddy. I'm in.
Yeah.
I think they could be a top 5. I'm with you there. I love that.
Before we shut it down, though, because we're about to cut to the end.
Well, you need to give me a dough, but we'll get to that later.
Because one thing we didn't talk about that I think is really important
Go ahead.
is the running backs. Where it's I referenced Swift, but I'm not a Herbert guy. What are your thoughts on what are your expectations on the running back room for this year?
So I love that you asked me that because I love Roschon Johnson. I think Herbert, this is probably going to be his last year in Chicago.
Yeah.
He'll get a decent workload. I think it's not going to be anything special, but he thrives in that number 2 spot where he'll have good efficiency on maybe having 6 rushes a game. Swift will be the bell cow. I think it was a good move to get him. I think we got him at a fair price, which I'm very happy with. The only thing with Swift is there are so many weapons in this offense. So, let's say you're talking fantasy football, I would probably avoid him because you're not going to get it, But in terms of filling the role on an NFL offense, I think he's going to be great. I think it was a good signing at a good price. What did Saquon go for?
Crazy amount.
Swift was a fair value running back, which I'm fine with. And you clearly saw last year when you had Foreman, Roschon, and Herbert can't be your number 1.
Right.
So they needed to go out and do that. And I'm very happy they did. And I think with the improved line, every one of those players is going to be better, especially Roschon. I really hope he kind of takes the next step, but really want that to happen. But I think Swift is going to be a very solid running back for the Bears.
Yeah, and I would say that is arguably one of the most important positions for the Bears because if
you need to rely on that with a rookie.
Exactly.
I agree.
If you can run the ball and have someone that that you can lean on and then also provide insight in the huddle, that's going to make Caleb's life a hell of a lot easier when he's passing the ball. And then you bring in the play action and everything, and it just really helps evolve the entire offense, which is what Waldron loves to do, is play action and run the ball.
Well, and that's the thing, too, when you saw that flick pass to Swift the first preseason, or the first game they all played, but bail out, just figure it out, boom, we're good.
Yeah.
Let's figure it, go.
Yeah.
But then it comes to the final question, though, of Bears-Titans. We'll be at the game, very excited for it, have the tailgate ready to go. Everyone's welcome to tailgate. What do you think the final score is? Got to get you on camera for it.
Yeah, I would say 35-14.
So you think it's going to be a lot of offense?
Yeah, I think
I'm kind of with you because I'm about to get mine, but I'm thinking 27-10.
27.
The line right now is 4.5 minus Bears, so I like it. I like it.
Well, here's the other interesting thing is the Titans have whoever their GM is they've spent money so weird because they spent a shitload on that Chiefs DB. They spent a shitload on the on Pollard.
They didn't really pick.
And then who's the receiver they just got? The
guy from Jacksonville, Ridley. Ridley.
Where it's you're spending a lot of money on some of these weird positions that your quarterback's Will Levis. So
and talking about Ridley, they paid him a lot of money, and D-Hop again don't like people being hurt, but he's going to probably be out week 1.
Yeah.
So that makes the DB's job so much easier that you're kind of playing against some guys that we can't even name. I could not tell you they're receiver 2 and 3. So
get this. So remember when they traded AJ Brown to the Eagles?
Oh god.
So this is what the trade got back for them was Malik Willis, who they traded to the Packers, and that Traylon Burks guy, who is their receiver too. So talk about just an absolutely terrible trade where they just got raped big time, and it was.
So that was the last point I wanted to bring up. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. So CeeDee Lamb just signed a contract, 4 years, $136 million.
That's crazy.
The Bears somehow pulled off DJ Moore for roughly, I think, $27 million.
unbelievable.
They got Jalen Johnson for a good deal compared to what corners are paying. They're getting good receivers, good deals in the receivers. I think Poles is just on fire right now.
Yeah. And I think that's where so much of this is like the culture that you put out there within your club and your team, where you get selfless guys who love the game of football. And that's not saying CeeDee Lamb is in it only for the money, but I think it's you find these.
I mean
guys,
that's insane to me. I'm sorry. I think that is like
it's unbelievable.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I mean, shout out to Poles because literally,
if
we were paying DJ Moore that much money, I'd be like, I love DJ. That's insanity.
Yeah.
I think he's just very good at negotiating. You're right, building the culture, getting them in the into the
and seeing the bigger picture. Where it's like, listen, if you don't want to stay here, you go somewhere else, and you see what kind of happens. Like you fizzle out, and
But that kind of turns the question to what do you think Jenkins is worth? I want to end on that because I don't know why I have like a soft spot for him, but I think he's a very good guard, and I want him to be a Bear. They've clearly made it. They're not negotiating yet. It won't be till the trade deadline.
Yeah.
What do you think he goes for? Because guards are getting actually pay increases too significantly.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's a middle of the pack kind of guard is what I would pay him. And the reason why, and I don't know what those figures are, but I would say he's a middle of the pack because you can't trust his health. Where he's been very inconsistent in terms of getting hurt and missing 4 to 5 games a year.
Yep.
So I think as long as he stays in the middle of the pack and keeps when he's on the field keeps showing that he's one of the best out there, I would say. I'd pay him within the top, like, maybe 15 to 30 yards.
I'm trying to think what that converts to. So you're thinking, like, 15 mil a year-ish?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. But and right now, I mean, I guess we should talk about this briefly, but the Bears are in a good salary cap situation. They've cut a lot of dead weight. I mean, obviously, right when Poles came in, he kind of just slashed everything. The following year, got rid of some bad contracts. Right now is your window to win, though. You have a rookie quarterback, a rookie potential number 1 wide receiver. I know we have DJ Moore, but Roma Dunze could definitely be that guy. You got about 5 years to
figure it out.
Well, I'm just saying, in general, win the Super Bowl. Hot take for you. I'm putting you on a spot here.
Oh, God.
Is it possible within 5 years?
For them to win Super Bowl.
And you tell me what year you think it would happen if you had to put figurative money on it.
I mean, I would say it absolutely is possible, and I would say any year because you have your franchise quarterback.
You get your prediction year, though. It could be any. I mean, any year anyone can win. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But,
so, I mean, listen, 20, 25, 26 would be my guess.
2 and 3 years.
Yeah.
So you don't think there's a shot this year?
I think this is the year where they come knocking.
Ye of little faith.
Let everyone know who they are.
I know it's not going to be. It's probably not going to be.
What's your answer?
I would say it's probably going to be 2026. I think that all the pieces will be ready by then, where, especially with the capital you get from the Panthers next year, having that number 2 pick, and I think the Panthers will be another terrible team.
Yeah.
I think you're maybe get a guard if you let Jenkins go in the first, and then you get whatever position you need in the second. I think they're going to have one of the best rosters in the league. And I know it's weird because obviously their secondary slowly is getting
older.
Well, just contract-wise, like you have to start paying people.
Yeah.
But I think the next 3 years are your best window to win. But if Caleb is the guy, I mean, it could be as soon as this year.
Yeah.
And I love it, but I don't think it'll happen this year. I think year 2 and 3, I'm with you there, are probably our best window.
Is that where, do you think that Panthers trade will go down as one of the worst in NFL history?
So, I'm trying to remember who the trade was for. God, it was for a running back that I think Ditka did it.
When he was
it was like 4 number 1, like his entire picks that year or something.
Ricky Williams.
Yeah. That still will stand by the worst possible trade I think I've ever seen. That Carolina Panthers trade, that was probably top 5.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Think about this. You got DJ Moore. The number.
Darnell Wright.
Oh,
Caleb
my
Williams.
God. Caleb. And I know you guys can't give it to Rome, but then also the future second we're going to get. I mean, what were the Panthers?
Stevenson.
The Panthers are just... Right. Tyreek Stevenson. God, the Panthers.
It's all that owner. That owner is an absolute nut job. That guy's crazy. He's paying, like... Between his NFL and his, he also owns the MLS team out there. He's paying like 7 different head coaches to not coach their teams anymore because that guy just churns and burns because he thinks he's the smartest in the room, and he's not.
You're clearly not.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, my God.
Crazy. But that's Carolina Panthers talking
So
today.
we're ending, though, your record prediction. I need the Nick Fred official.
Nick Fred official?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go 11-6.
11-6.
Yep.
Love it, kid. Bear down, guys. Can't wait for the season. Guess when we're done.
Dohhhh.